Okay, let's get this party started. Hopefully everyone can hear me nice and loud. Let's bring this mic up a little bit like that. Where am I? I'm in the center. Now a bit more down here. There we go. Actually don't want this one. I'll move that there. Not dealing with that. How do I sound? Yes, I can. Okay. I can hear myself. Okay. Perfect. All right. If you have your questions, chuck them in. I'll do my best to answer them. And before we begin, everything's going right. Nice, nice, nice. All right, just give me a moment to get myself sorted, and then we're going to jump right into it. I'm kind of pumped for tonight's a fun one. Location. Location, location, location. We're going live. All right. Let's put this in. Display. There we go. Nice, nice, nice. And we are good to go. All right. So if you have your questions, chuck them in. I'm going to have a bit of fun tonight. Well, let me make sure I'm actually logged in as well. Okay. All right, and last but not least, just need to switch on a few more things here. Wait, where is my actual restream? There we go. Sweet. I'll pop you out over there. And I've got that sitting there. And I've got this sitting right here. All right, perfect. Perfect, perfect. Okay, last but not least, just need to turn on all these recordings, and then we are good to go. So that's that. Now I'll turn off select the right mic. And then start recording, switch to the main feed, and we are good to go. I think we are. Yes, we are. Okay, cool. So if you have questions, chuck them over. I'll be more than happy to help. Any Drupal questions, as long as they're not too hard. No, I'm joking. Chuck them all over. All right, now before we begin, I just want to mention that I do have over at webwash.net a premium community, which I've been building up. And right now we have €99 lifetime access to it, where you get access to a whole bunch of courses. And these courses are going to be slowly updated as new versions of Drupal come along. There is another course I need to finish uploading, and that's about Twig. But essentially what I do is a lot of these live streams, especially if they are like getting started guides, I do convert them over into courses. But if there are other content and courses that you want, well, join the community and chat in the actual forum. There's a forum. I like to go old school with forums, and you can ask questions, get access to me, ask any Drupal questions, and it's a good way of supporting the channel. So if you want to learn more about it, head over to webwash.net/premium. And right now we do have a lifetime access for €99. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that because I do love doing these videos and these live streams and producing content, but I do need to find a way of monetizing it. Okay, so we'll jump over to that in a second. I think we are, might as well just get right into it. Okay, so in Drupal, how do you store location information and display it as a map? Well, that is what I want to answer tonight, and specifically how to do that in Drupal CMS. Because Drupal CMS, especially with Canvas and the Mercury theme, things are slightly different. So the way you build Drupal sites is a little different. You know, instead of building it out with content types and fields, which you do to a certain extent, when you display those fields, instead of displaying them mostly through Layout Builder or some type of template, you do it through Canvas. That is the recommended way of doing things. So tonight we're going to be taking a look at how to store and display addresses using the address field. The usability of a module starts with a name. Now, I say this often, but I don't know where I heard it from, but it's true. When you search for Drupal address, the first module you get is address field. Now, this module is used to store addresses. Simple. And it stores it in a specific language like extensible address language. And it's maintained by the team that also develop Drupal commas as well. So it's heavily integrated. I think it was built specifically for Drupal commas, just a standard way of managing addresses in Drupal. Then we take a look at Geofield. Now we have the addresses, but what if we want to store longitude and latitude or location coordinates? How do you do that in Drupal? Well, there's another module called Geofield that stores geolocation data. Okay. Then when you have that geolocation data and you want to display it as a map, what option do you have? Well, you have Geofield Map, which then stores and integrates with the Geofield module, and it stores the location in Geofield, and then you can use this module, adjust a few formatters, and then you can display that geo information as a map. And it also has great integration with views. There are a few. I wouldn't say there's a lot, but there are a few modules to display maps in Drupal. And honestly, at the end of the day, you don't have to use a module. You can just do it through JavaScript if you really want to. So if I don't cover your favorite mapping tool in Drupal, well, let me know in the comments which one you prefer. But today we're just going to be looking at Geofield Map. Now, to tie everything up, to convert the address into coordinates, what we need to do is use a geocoder. Now, geocoder module integrates the geocoder PHP library, which is essentially used to convert addresses, and then it sends it off to a geocoding service such as OpenStreetMap. Google Maps is another big one. There's a whole ton of them out there. And then he simply returns an address. Well, sorry, no. If he goes from address to location, then you send it an address, and then it should, if your address is correct, return a proper longitude and latitude. So these are the 4 modules we're going to take a look at. And if you have any questions, please just chuck them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. So without further ado, let's jump into our Drupal site, our Drupal CMS site, and just start building things out. So here I've got a stock standard Drupal version 2 site, and I've just installed it. And we're going to take a look at address module. Now, I do recommend that you just go ahead and download it using Composer. You don't have to tweak anything. You don't have to change, minimum stable version in Composer. You just download it the Composer way. And what we're going to do, we're going to come here and go to Extend and then search for address and click on Install. And this is just going to install the address for us, or the address module for us. Let's just give that a moment. And because I've patched something, which I'll talk about in a second, it's complaining about that, but that's all right. And if we go to content types, what I'll do is I'll create a new content type called company. So just imagine we have a page where you can see the locations, okay? I'm just going to call a company. You can call it location or whatever you want, but I'll just call it company. And I'll click on save and create. And Drupal CMS gives us a few SEO fields out of the box, so you may not see it if you're using standard Drupal core. But if we click on add a new field, we should see address. If you can't see it, make sure you install the module. Now, you do get 3 different field types: address, country, and zone. Now, remember, the team that maintains this module pretty much developed it for e-commerce functionality. So you can imagine that zone and country are used for, I would assume zone could be used for like shipping and things like that on the checkout process. And then you have country where you can just select the country. For us, we're going to select address because we want to select a full address. So I'll click on address and then put in the field name, which would be address. Pretty original. I don't know. You can call it whatever you want. And we'll click on continue. And then if we scroll down, we have available countries. So what you can do is you can specify exactly which country can be selected, or if none are selected, then you can select all of them. And the benefit of first having to select a country is that the actual address, the required address fields do change depending on the country. And so you have all of these properties, and by default, they're all available, but you can hide them, make them optional, or make them required. So I'll just leave that as it is, just so I can demonstrate it. And then if we go and create an actual test company, let's go here. And I'll call this one company Sydney 1. And straight away, we get this address field set, and then we can choose a country. So if I choose Australia, because I know the address is there very well, we get the standard set of fields and we get a bunch of states. That's the Australian states. Then if I search for the US, you get the US states. If you search for United Kingdom, you get certain address format. For the UK, in my case now, living in Croatia, I'll get the address format for Croatia. So that is a benefit of selecting a country first and then having the address format, excuse me, in a specific way. So if I choose Australia, well, no, actually, let's just leave that for now. Let's go back here and limit this so I can show you. So let me search for Australia. I'll just select Australia and I will hide first name, middle name, last name, don't need that. Organization. If you want to handle billing for organizations, perhaps. And then you do have these other options, sorting code. Not really sure what that is. Then you have locality, city. I don't think all of these are actually visible. It just depends on what you select on the country that you select. All right, then let's click on Save Settings. So we've done that. Now, if we come back here and refresh, we only see one drop down, which is correct. And if I type in, what is it, company, I can spell that correctly, Sydney 1, and then I'll put in, what is it, 123 Pitt Street, and then Sydney, New South Wales, and I know the address, I know the postcode is 2000. All right, done that, saved. All right, so we have our first company and we have an address. So if you want to create a content type and display an address, you can do so using the address field. But now we need to convert this into a longitude and latitude. But before we do that part, we first of all need to create another field, which will be used to store, the actual address. Now, one thing I do want to show you, let's jump back here. One thing I do want to show you is what this looks like in the database. Because if we open up, where is my adminer? Let me bring this up. All right, so, and I search for address. Oh, nice, got a first comment on YouTube, hello. All right, so we're searching for address. We get this address field. You go select data, and here you can see, let me zoom that in. You can see the specific columns here. You can see that they're long. There's a lot of them. Essentially, the schema for this field has to handle every single address type, essentially. And then it just adjusts accordingly depending on the country that you select. So you can see administrative area, New South Wales, locality, Sydney. Then it's got country code, AU. Yeah, you got it all there. You've got it all there. Now, with the Geofield module, Geofield allows us to store location coordinates in Drupal. The address field lets you store the physical address, so the address that you'll put on a letter, for example. But this module stores the longitude and latitude. Now, to set this up, all you need to do is go ahead and download it. So just download the latest version. I downloaded version 10. And if we go to extend and search for Geofield, we should see Geofield right there. Ignore the rest for now. We'll get to them in a second. And let's go ahead and install Geofield. Give that a moment. And then what we can do, let's go to content types, company, and click on add new field. And we should see Geofield. If you can't see it, clear the cache. And I'll call this one just location data. And click on continue. And we'll just leave everything as it is and click on save. And if we go and edit our company, you'll see we get this new option here, or this new field, location data with a latitude and longitude. Now, instead of manually adding in the longitude and latitude, we can actually have the address converted, or geocoded as they call it, into a lat and long, and it automatically gets added into the field. Now, to do that, we have Geocoder. Geocoder integrates the Geocoder PHP library into Drupal. So this is a non-specific Drupal library. This is just written in PHP. So you can build this and add it to any type of PHP framework. Here you can see that there's Laravel packages and also Symfony packages as well. So you can put it wherever you want. And if we go to documentation, you do have a bunch of providers. So if you scroll all the way down to providers and address, you do have a lot here. And you can see that there's a lot of installs. Now, the two most popular are OpenStreetMap. OpenStreetMap is free, which is good. And then you do have Google Maps, which requires an API key, but it is free up to a certain amount of requests. So what we're going to do is let's go, first of all, go ahead and download Geocoder, and Geocoder integrates with Geofield and the address module. So I've already gone ahead and downloaded it. Now, if I go to, where is it, extend, and search for Geocoder, I can see Geocoder, Geocoder address, Geocoder field, and Geocoder Geofield. I'll be saying geo a lot today. Hey, geo. Yeah. So if you just install geocoder address, which we need, which is used to integrate, yeah, address field with geocoder and geocoder geofield, the rest should be installed. But essentially, you need to install all 4 modules. But if we click on install, you'll see that Drupal's dependency kicks in, and we can go ahead and install it. Now, if we go to content types and then edit company, and we need to go to the geofield that we want to generate, you'll see that now we have we have this option called geocode from an existing field, and we can select our address field. If you can't see address in this dropdown, make sure you install the geocoder address field. Module, geocoder address module, make sure that's installed. And you then have to select your geocoding providers. Now, of course, we need to set this up. So if I click on this link, it's going to take me directly to geocoder providers, but you can access this by going to configuration, then geocoder, and then go to providers. And then from this drop down, you can select a few of them. Now, I've already gone ahead and downloaded Google Maps and OpenStreetMap, but essentially what you need to do is if you come along in here, go to not OpenStreetMap, sorry, and then you just copy this composer command, jump over in here, and then just type in again, ddev composer, and just download it, and that is it. And clear the cache, very important. If you don't see it in the dropdown, come back here, where is it? Yeah. If you don't see it here, clear the cache. And you can clear the cache just by coming on this little, clicking on or hovering over this tool and then clicking flush all caches. And now if we click on OpenStreetMap and click on add, pretty much everything is done for us. The only thing we need to do, and I'm just going to follow the instructions here. So referrer will be our URL. And the user agent, I will call it just Drupal. I'll just follow this explanation. I don't know if it stops it. I don't know. But I'll just give it a go. Chuck that in there. And what is it? Oh, at the top there. There we go. Click on save. Okay. So we have our first provider sorted out. Now, if we go here, let's just refresh. Again, click on location data and click on geocoder, and we should see our provider. Perfect. Now, you can have multiple providers, and you can adjust the provider, and essentially it's just going to pick up the first address that is returned. So you may have a situation where you have multiple providers and the address may not be available in one provider, but but sometimes it's available in another one, or sometimes it's not available in the first one. So you can essentially adjust and enable a bunch of providers and adjust the weight, and then Drupal will just pick out whichever one returns something essentially. So if we enable OpenStreetMap, here you can configure a few things such as, show status if it's failed, and also preserve the existing field value. So that just means that if there's a value in the geocode field, it's not going to geocode it again. But I think it does cache it, because today when I was testing it out, after I do the first geocode, the first response, the first time it generates the lat and long, it takes about a second. You can always see it happening. And then the second time it's like instant. It's like, okay, no, it's cached it. I just have a sense of these things. Okay, so we've got that. Now, if we come back here, let's refresh. So our longitude and latitude is empty, but if we save, it should take a minute, and that's because I need to refresh. Let's do that again. No, actually, let's close that off. Let's go back here. And now it's safe. Ooh, what's happening? So, content could not be saved. Let's go back in here. Oh, why did I select that? There you go. That's an interesting one. So interesting. If you get this content could not be saved, let's have a look and see. I know exactly what I did. Field unknown. All right, that's pretty cryptic, but you can kind of see that, yes, field unknown, you can't find it. And you can see that it's coming out of geocoder field. So essentially what that means is if we come back here, we need to select address. Hit save. And do we need to, is there another save button? Oh no, there isn't. Okay. Come here, refresh, and we should see our location data. And if we click onto it, we should see, there we go, right there, our location data. Exactly. Now, if we go in there and edit and save it again, it's going to be much faster. So it's for sure cached. Yeah, that is absolutely cached. Okay. So at this point, we have added in our address field, and we've added a location field, and we've also then converted the address into location data. Now, before we jump onto the mapping part, let me just quickly show you how to set up Google Maps. Now, I'm not going to cover how to set up the API access. That you can find a ton of information. And trust me, if you get stuck, just ask AI, ask ChatGPT or even Claude. It tells you exactly how to do it. It's great. Just ask it. Now, for that, you will need to get Google Maps. So click on Google Maps here and then just grab this composer command and throw that in. And what you can do is then, well, no, let's go here and go to configuration. And then we'll go to Geocoder, providers, and I'll click on Google Maps. Now, you do have to add in an API key. But before everyone gets excited, because I will be showing the API key, the API key won't work. Well, I'm going to delete it after this live stream, but even during this live stream, it is locked down to my IP. So it's not going to work even if you grab it now. Okay, so where is the key? To find it, where did I put it? Right down out here. Okay. So all you need to do to set this up is come along in here, throw in the key. And you have a few options here, but that's pretty much it. Just throw in the key. But what I'll do, let me just put in a wrong one. Okay. Let me just put one which I know is going to break, because I'll show you a good way of debugging things. So we come along in here and we should see Google Maps. Great. Let's select that. So now it's just going to grab Google Maps, even though, okay, it's moved it to the top. But if we want to have both enabled, essentially it'll grab the address, or sorry, it'll grab the location from the first provider that provides it. So what you could essentially do, sorry, I'll come back to this. I'll move on. What you could do, if you're processing a lot of information, you could probably do Google Street Map first, because it's free. Well, it depends how much traffic you're doing. And then then if you can't find it in there, then go to Google Maps. That's an option. Okay, so we've done that. Let's go here and I'll remove this. And now if we save, we will get an error, but chances are you can't see that because it's behind me. Let me move my avatar to the other side. There we go, my camera. So here you can see it's saying unable to geocode, okay? Right here down at the bottom right. So then we can go and go to errors. No, where are you? recent log messages, and we should see API access denied. This is one thing I love about well-developed modules, because don't get me wrong, with like the AI stuff and any type of integration, a lot of effort, because I've spent years building, writing integration with Drupal. You spend so much time, like building the integration is the easy part. The hard part, and where you spend a lot of time, is building all your little helper functions around the functionality, which can help you debug a problem. Because that's one thing I've noticed. Whenever I've had to integrate Drupal with some third-party REST service, I always need to put in debuggers, logging or some type of logging that goes into dblog or syslog or whatever logging tool you use. And then I often have a configuration screen that makes it easy for me to display the logs sometimes if I turn on debug mode and things like that. So I do like it when integration modules just expose how things are run. And if something does happen, that you can easily debug it, because there's nothing more annoying than running some type of integration and then being like, okay, it's broken. Why? Where do I start? How do I move forward with this? You know what I mean? Like that can be kind of very, very hard to debug. And I've noticed that that's kind of happened a few times when I've used like Drupal, the AI module in Drupal. The chat just returns a simple error processing. And it's like, okay, so what's the problem? Is it my end? Is it the API's end? Is it could be annoying. But this is good, because what you can do, what I'm trying to say here, is you can grab this and go directly, and you will see this error up the top here, okay? So this is essentially how we integrate with Google. So all we need to do is, if we grab the key, and this is why I like the Google Maps integration. All it is you just a REST endpoint, chuck the key in there, and you should, here you go, get all the location data returned, and that's it. It's pretty simple. So this is a good way of knowing that, yep, it's working. So we can now come along in here. Let's fix this up. Where is it? Oh. Go to configuration, Geocoder, providers, Google Maps, and we can chuck this in there. I think it was the last letter that I left out. And now if we go back into here and then save, we get now this address or location. And that was all with Google Maps. Now, as I mentioned, the Google Map integration requires an API key, but it does offer a free tier. So you do see this, don't worry about this, but I think if you go click on pay as you go, the first 10,000 calls are free. And yeah, I mean, if your site does extremely well, then you're okay. But I know right now, or maybe I think you have to put in a billing address. You do need to put some credit card in there. So I do have a business account with Google Cloud, and that's all of its integration. So I think you do have to put in a credit card on it, but I haven't been charged for it, because trust me, I don't do 10,000 calls a month with Google Maps. All right. So right now we have our company content types, and we've got our address, and we have our location data. And on top of that, we have integration, which converts the address into the geolocation. Now, before we move on, let me just quickly create two more companies. So call this one company 2, what was it? Hunter Street. And was it 1, 2, 3? No, it was a 1 Hunter Street. There used to be a great place on Hunter Street that did awesome laksa when I used to work in the city. Well, in Sydney. Back in the day, great chicken laksa. I think it was Hunter Street. Yeah. It's been a long time. That's 10 years ago. Oof. All right, so let's check that. So 1 Hunter Street, Sydney. All right, we've got a longitude and latitude. Perfect. And the last one is company 3, George Street. Oh, is that spelled correctly? Oh, uppercase. So 1, 2, 3, George Street. Wait, what am I doing? Select the country. 1, 2, 3, George Street. I remember when George Street used to be an actual road. Now it's not. It's actually pedestrianised and there's a tram going right through it. I actually remember when they closed it off and shut it off. Okay. And we have a longitude and latitude. Okay. So everything is working. Now, to create our map, what we're going to do is we're going to use Geofield Map. If you guessed that Geofield Map integrates with Geofield, well, you're correct. Hence the name Geofield. Some pretty cool stuff here. Actual pretty cool stuff. All these lines and things like that. That's pretty cool. You do some pretty cool things. Pretty cool things with that. Okay. So scroll down all the way down to the bottom and download the latest version. You can see 16,000. Let's have a look at the installs. Oh, it's stayed up. Oh, it's been pretty steady. That's pretty good. Look at that. That's pretty good. Okay. So once you've downloaded it, you want to go ahead and install it. So let's go to extend and type in Geofield Map. So just go ahead and download the Geofield Map. And give that a moment while it downloads. And now what we can do is let's first display the location through a formatter. So we're going to imagine that we want to come to the actual company page and we want to see a map of this location. Now we can easily do that by going to content types and then clicking on manage fields and then go to manage display. Now, this is the patch I was talking about earlier on. As of this recording and right now, you might get a fatal error if you click on this page or if you click on a view mode that isn't controlled by the new content templates in Canvas. And I actually discovered that bug and created a issue for it. So hopefully it will be fixed. And there is an actual patch for it that I've applied. So if you come along in here, yep, fatal error. And I applied this patch. Now, chances are, if you're watching this, because most people watch this after the fact, it's probably been fixed. But I applied this patch and it worked. So all you need to do to patch this is put in, and this is a good tip, whenever you see a pull request on, what is it, git.drupalcode.org, and you see a merge request, sorry, not a pull request, a merge request, that's what GitLab calls it. If you type in .patch, you can then grab this URL. I think if you type in, what is it, .diff as well, does that work? Yeah, diff works as well. I guess both will work. But I just type in patch, grab that, and then you go ahead and jump over to your code. So I've got it right here. Here you go. And you just paste it in there. And then, of course, you need to set up, download and set up. Where is it? Do I have it here? Yes, these composer patches. Composer patches package, but that's been the de facto way of managing patches in Composer anyway. So just Google it and you'll find it. And then it goes ahead and patches things for you. And then it works. But anyway, so I just want to mention that chances are when you watch this, it's all going to be fixed. But check for the link. I will add the link below this video, wherever this video is. Well, if the video's in YouTube, then yes, it'll be below. And if this video's And if you're watching this on the WebWash Premium community, you'll have the link as well. All right, so we have now our location. Well, we're on our manage display page and we have location data. And if you click on format, you will see Geofield Geo Map. And if we click on that, we get this epic configuration page for our formatter. Now, before we do anything, we need to click on that link and let's close that. And we need to put in our Google Map API. We can do that. Let me find that again. Where is that? It's right here. And let me pop that in there. And you can configure a few things, but I'll just leave that as it is. Let's do that save. Yes, I did. Don't worry about this error. I don't know what that is. Well, it's a warning. It's not an error technically. Come back here, click on Geofield, Google Map, and click on the cogwheel. And now we can configure a few things. So we have Google Map and, Map Zoom and Pan. Now this is what I like to adjust the most. So here you can adjust the initial zoom, just how far zoomed in it is. You have minimum zoom level, maximum zoom level, and you can configure a bunch of stuff here. You can put in the icon. You can also put in the info window, the little pop-up that appears. There's, again, there's a lot of configuration here. But I do sometimes feel like if you really want to customize things, you're going to have to just do it through, JavaScript. I feel like sometimes this abstraction level. Now, of course, Drupal is all about abstraction, but sometimes I feel, especially nowadays, and especially with AI, like it's just better to sometimes get into the weeds, get into the JavaScript and just do it yourself because it's more flexibility. And when you think about it, AI itself is an abstraction layer because you can easily tell it, okay, implement this, and why is this broken, and why isn't this broken, or why does this work, and why doesn't this work? Okay, so let's just click on update, and I'll make sure everything should work. And we click on, what is it, save up the top, close all of these. And if we now refresh, we should see a map. There we go. As I mentioned, it's zoomed out. So let's fix that up. And I do like to set it, where is it? Initial, what is it, 16? Did that save actually? Yes, I did. Sometimes I forget to click on update and then save. So we've done that. And we refresh and it should zoom in. There we go. Can we zoom in even more? Probably we can, but we'll just leave that as it is. And if we click on CMS, go to our first one. This is 123 Pitt Street. And we have Hunter Street, you can see. And we have George Street. There we go. Okay. So as you can see, adding it in through a formatter is pretty easy. But now let's create a view, because Geofield Google Map can integrate with views. So you can create a simple view. And so we can display all three of the locations in a single map, and then we'll add it to our About Us page right here through Canvas. Okay, through Canvas. So all we need to do is click on Views and then click on Add View, and we'll call this one Company Map. And I'll select Company and I'll click on Block. You need to display it as a block. Click on Save and Edit. And if we select Geofield Google Map, you should see that. Click on Apply. Now it's going to say that it needs a geofield in the view. So all we need to do is add in our geofield field, geofield field. And just leave that as it is, because it does not get displayed, and then go to settings, and then as a data source, you can specify it. And you can configure a few things here, but let's also put in, what is it? Initial level, I don't know, 10 or something. You can control the zoom level if you want to go full screen or not, disable, do all sorts of stuff. Then click on apply. Let's just remove title. And if we scroll down, there we go. We see it. See it up the top there. We can see it. Oh, let's put in the info. Well, actually, let's put title back in. And if we click on here, we should see, where was that? Info, window. There we go. Okay. It's going to show it straight away. And then click on apply. And if we click on that, we should see the actual title of our company. And if we click on save, we have our working block. Now, we need to add it into Canvas. If you want to display anything in Canvas, make sure you create a block display, because Canvas integrates with blocks, so very important. Let me just see, I'm curious. Before we move on, I'm just really curious. What does this actually look like in Canvas? What does an actual views map? Oh, okay. Oh, that's not bad, actually. All right. So that at least doesn't explode. Because essentially everything in Mercury and Drupal CMS is meant to go through Canvas. But no, that's good. All right. That's cool. But let's go ahead now and go to our About Us page. Well, hello. Yes, you did hear about Canvas. Welcome. Oh, I've got another comment. Of course. Canvas. Funny enough, because I've been working on a Canvas project the last month now. So I've learned a fair bit about Canvas on how it works. It's an interesting module. I like it so far. There's some limitations with it, but I do like it. All right. So right now we are on the About page. So let's go and edit. And we do get this new Canvas page. Now, if this is the first live stream that you're ever watching of a Drupal video, well, thank you for joining and welcome. And if you're looking at this and you used to use Drupal and you're like, wait, what is this new interface? Well, let me just quickly introduce you to Drupal Canvas. Now, Drupal Canvas is a new page builder essentially for Drupal. And you can install it on your own Drupal site, but it comes pre-installed and working for Drupal CMS. So Drupal Canvas gives you a nice page builder. This is like a standard page builder. So a lot of page builders like Elementor is a big one, Gutenberg in WordPress. They're all very similar. So what we're going to do is click on here on the left-hand side. We have a library. We have all of our components. In this case, they're single directory components, or they can be code components. And what I'll do is I will where is it? Go to section. There is a section here. Where is it? I like to throw in a section. So let's put in section component. So a section component is used to kind of group other components into a section. But this really depends on the theme. Every theme does things a little differently. And I'll put in a header in there, and I'll call this one locations, if I can type correctly. And if we scroll down, do we see our under lists views? No, we don't. What we need to do is probably clear the cache. So let me come back here and clear the cache. If you don't see it there, it should appear there. And then if we refresh and click on add, we should see company map. There we go. It is, oh, look at that. It's even previewed. Nice. All right. We have a comment. All right, I tried CMS and applying old admin themes, say classy. It would stuff up the view when you select. Yeah, I wouldn't do that. If you're going to be using the latest Drupal CMS, just use either Gin as the backend or um, or use the Mercury theme and then customize it, because Drupal CMS is specifically built for that. Now, I do have a video probably last week or the week before about customizing Mercury, which is this new theme, because this theme is built in a very specific way. First of all, it utilizes Tailwind. So if you want to customize it, you get to use Tailwind. That's either a good thing or a bad thing. I seem to get varying opinions from developers. Some people love it, some people hate it. I'm kind of like in the middle. Just with most things, it's like, yeah, it's not perfect, but I'll just deal with it. But everything is built using components, and that's the big thing, single directory components. So if you're going to use Drupal CMS, stick with what you've got, or you just use standard Drupal, because then at that point, you just use Drupal core and build things out yourself. Okay, so we've got this now. Now we can see our map, and what we can do is we can chuck it right here, and it should automatically load up for us. So that's pretty cool. Loads out of the box. Nice. Now, if we click on if we click on section, we can actually adjust the grid layout. And this is one thing I do like about these components. You can adjust the grid within it. So let's just make it full, 100%. And we click on save. And we still, yeah, that's one thing I've noticed. You cannot go directly, you can't jump to the page. Or can you? This is where I was looking for the duplicate page button. This is, I was looking for that. Literally today, I was looking for that. Yeah, it's there as well. I was looking at it in a different section. I was looking at it, what is it, here? I just could not find it, because these pages are Canvas pages. So again, for Drupal, for people who are new to Drupal Canvas, you have your content types, company, blog post, and utility page. These are your standard content types that you know and love if you've used Drupal in the past. Then you have your Canvas pages, which are a separate entity type, and they're here. So if we click on About, we should see, there we go, our map, which is looking great. Now, if we click on Edit, we're going to go back to Canvas, and what we can do is we can chuck in a text component, and this text component, just imagine we can have, all locations, and then make it bold. And best of all, we can click on our section and then flick it to the, 75, 25, and then it sticks it to the side. And that's it. Look at that. Look at that. Well, let's go back, back, back. Now we've got this nice little view, and you can see just how easy that is to set up. Now, okay, that was easy to set up, but there are a few things that with Canvas you still need to work around. And I'll show you one of those issues right now. So at this point, we have added in our map, which we created just using views and just using a basic block. But now what I want to do is use a content template. Now, what is a content template, you say? Well, Canvas and Drupal CMS want you essentially. And this is a kind of a design decision. I understand that. But I feel like the managed form display has changed a lot over the years. So you'll notice here, you get this message now, which is like, design with Drupal Canvas. So essentially, instead of designing everything through here and Layout Builder, you can use Drupal Canvas and this thing called Content Templates to design your full content view mode of pages. So if we click on one of the other content types, say blog post, and go to Manage Display, you will see that you can control your card components. So a card view mode can be managed from here. And what you do essentially is you put in a component and then you link it using this dynamic link. So you essentially say, okay, the title is going to go into this prop. Now, I'm not going to cover props and slots. I've got many live streams about it, and I'm going to probably have more in the future. But essentially, a component can have, and here I go, always end up talking about props and slots. So a prop is just one of these options right here on the right-hand side, and a slot allows you to add in another component within it. And so if we take a look at, so now if we go to this templates, you'll see that full content has a hero blog component, and we're passing the title, the authored on date, the byline, and the featured image as a prop. And then if we go to here, you'll see where you got the breadcrumb up the top there. Yeah, there's a funny issue with the breadcrumb block. That's all right. And then a slot. So you have your section as a component, and then your grid and your footer and your header are slots, which then allow other components in there. So now for us, in our example, what we want to do is click on add new template, select company, and then select full content. Now, as of this recording, you can only create full content templates through this UI. You will notice that you do have card template. Then the only way you can do that as of this recording until it's fixed up is by mucking around with config. But now what we can do is because we've switched this on, now if we go to one of our company pages, you'll see it's pretty much, well, okay, there's none, okay, so it's still loading up. Maybe I need to save something. Well, no, let me put in a section. Throw in a section. Hit save. Okay, so now it should just be pretty much empty. Okay, so now Drupal Canvas is taking over. What I can do is if I want to add the title in, I can come along in here. I can go to heading, and then I have to link title to this prop, because remember, this is all dynamic. And then from this drop down up the top here, you can actually preview. This is a way of actually previewing. You will see that the title does change. Then if we click on here, we're done. Okay. Now, the current limitation with this is that certain props only allow certain field types. So you'll see here, so you should be able to see, let me make sure I'm not covering it. Yeah. If you take a look here, you will see you get a few options. Now, none of our fields that we've added today, such as location and address field, are appearing here. So so if we want to do it the Canvas way of creating a component and linking a field to an actual prop, well, we can't do it this specific way. But what we can do is use views for it. So what we're going to do is let's jump back. Let's go to views. And I'm going to cheat a little bit because we're going to use more the views module for it. So I'll call this one company map. Company map. And I will select company and I'll click on create block. Oh, did I already use that? Oh, okay. I did. All right, let's call it something else. Company node map. There we go. Simple. And I'll call this one address field because we want to display the address field. Now, we are viewing all of the components, all of the companies. But what we can do is if we add in a contextual filter and then add in ID, we can configure this view to only load up the node that it's on, or the content that it's on. So what's going to happen is when this view gets loaded up, it's going to grab the ID from the URL and then simply query the company where content ID equals and then whatever ID is passed through. So we're kind of cheating here. If I think type in, what is it, 4, it's probably nothing. But if I type in, what is it, 6, I think, is Sydney 1, there we go. 7 is Hunter Street and 8 is George Street. There you go. So then what we can do, and also you may want to switch this over to 1, okay, to display 1. But if we change this to address, for example, we can now see the address. So let's just save this. And what we're going to do is simply duplicate this display, but make sure it's a block. That's very important. And we'll call this one map. And what we can do is, first of all, we need to override. Because if we were to say select all blocks, it will just change them on all of them. But we want to just override it for this block. And now we want to display the Geofield Google Map. And again, you want to override. And let's search for, what is it, location data? Yep, that's it. And click on apply, then come back here, select your location data. And if we scroll all the way down, let's zoom this into, what is it, 16? And click on apply. So now if we type in, what is it, 6, we should see just our location. We type in 7, we'll see the other location, and 8, we should see it right there. There we go. Okay. So let's click on save. Now, to display these in Canvas, we just have to add them like we did the previous block. But before we do that, let's go ahead and flush the cache. Then let's go into Canvas. Go full content. And if we come here, we should see address. There we go. Let's pop in address into our grid section. Now we're not going to see a preview. That's the annoying thing about it. We're not going to see it. So what we need to do is kind of, this is where it gets a little tricky. So we need to come into these layers, because if Canvas doesn't have, one thing I found out is that in this editor, Canvas needs to have, well, the div that you want Canvas to control needs to have a minimum width. Now you can see here that it doesn't have a minimum width, so you can't actually pop it in nicely. And if we come back to here and make sure it's 50-50, well, let's make it 25-75 and then save that. And we have to then go to the front end and go to our CMS. And if we go click on right here, we can then see our map and our location just on the company page. So as you can see, by using views, well, views to the rescue, okay? Views to the rescue when it comes to this stuff. But you are querying well, you're probably querying more than just 2 queries, but you know, think about it. Views is just a query language, like, you know, it's just some type of UI to query your content. So you can imagine that if you do have a lot of fields, like 20 fields, you're going to be increasing the querying on it. But then in this day and age, you can cache a lot of things. But I do think, yeah, Drupal Canvas needs a way. I need to figure out a way. Really do need to figure out a way on just passing just any value from a field into Canvas, even if you just do it in code. Like, what is the minimum and simplest way of passing it through? Because I do know that we come back here. Now you notice that we go directly to the content type page, but what we want to do is come into here, go to the Canvas UI. I do know that when you organize, well, when you kind of configure these type of options here where you have the available fields, there is a service that tries to match the field type to the prop type. So there is a bit of magic happening there. Of course, you're not going to be able to select a whole bunch of, fields that aren't compatible with the prop, but then it comes down to, okay, well, who decides on what field is compatible or not? So there is a bit of code around that. And I will be curious to see, like, how hard would it be if I could just pass in a string, like just an array of stuff? I'm really, really curious. Because you could essentially, I'm trying to think, maybe just use a block. Maybe just do that. I don't know. But then are we querying too many things? I don't know. I've just really need to figure that out. I'll need to ask that in the Slack channel. So there is a Drupal Slack community that has a whole bunch of channels in there, and the Canvas and the Drupal CMS and the Canvas channel is pretty helpful. So if you get stuck, just go in there and ask for help. All right. So there you go. I mean, that's pretty much it. We covered a lot today. Absolutely. We covered a lot. Wait, where's my, oh, that's right. I can't see it. I'm like, wait, where's the map? Yeah, I can't see it. Okay. Yes, we did cover a lot today. And before, well, wait, no. I've got an idea. Sorry, something came to me. Just so we can sort out the default. I wonder if we can add in a default option. So provide, no. Provide a default from content. See, there would be good if you could provide some type of default value here. Because if you can't find the option, it should. Wait, what happens if it is fixed? Let's see. I chuck in apply all. Okay, it's chucked it into all of them. All right, so it's just going to display that. It's just going to display that. That's fine. Now, if I come along in here, is it going to display the preview? Ah, it is. Okay. All right. Now we're getting somewhere. Now we are getting somewhere. So you can display a preview if you can give it a default. So what you could do is potentially, where's my view? Oh, there must be a way where you can say, actually get it from the content ID. If it's not from the content ID, make it a default. Oh no, we have a comment here. Okay, seems that our views blocks can't take an ID as parameters using Canvas. No. It can take the node ID, but not in the Canvas UI. Not in the Canvas UI. But I'm wondering if you want to, how hard would it be to build out or extend this content ID from URL and then have a new option here that gives you a default? Because if you can have another option here, which is like, yes, grab from content ID. If it's not from a content ID, then just grab a default one, and then you use that as it. Because here you can clearly see that it can display the preview. And then come along in here, it's going to display. Oh, it's not going to display the text. I'm going to display that. Well, that's it. Yeah, the comment is we need to pass parameters to the view in Canvas. But I do know, so CTools, the CTools module has a block module that creates a derivative plugin that exposes every single field as a block. And I thought that would work, but no. Canvas doesn't work with blocks that have that utilize context. Oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, so you can implement blocks using the block plugin where you pass it the node, well, a node service as context. But apparently, yeah, Canvas doesn't support that. So we're kind of there, kind of not there. Close. You could, I mean, you could essentially. Now, I wonder how hard actually. I wonder how hard it will be. I've got to do this. I've got to try this out. If we can expose, if we can expose a block settings, there must be a way of exposing all your fields here, selecting a field, and it automatically gets populated in there. Well, that's it. Yeah. So yeah, the comment is, yeah, it's a core issue of Canvas that doesn't respect Drupal core context. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Because that's really the limiting factor. Because at this point, it's like you can't. Sometimes you just want to write custom code yourself, like, Yeah. No. So there's a comment here. Does Canvas support relationship context? For example, locations, content types that has a specific taxonomy. Nah, it doesn't. It doesn't. Just remember, Canvas is still version 1. Like there's a lot to be done. Things like conditional logic is one of them, one of the big ones that I would like to see. We can go ahead and do some conditional logic. But yeah, there's still a fair bit that needs to be done. But I'll be curious to see how hard it will be to implement a custom block with the settings and then placing it in here and then having a drop down of all of your available fields. But then it needs to know what type of content type it's on there. There's a few options there. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. In big projects, it's a real issue to choose Canvas for long-term projects. Well, that's it. At this point, it's still early because yeah, the Canvas project that I'm working on, the whole point is to test out and use Canvas. So that's why we're using it. But if Drupal Canvas wasn't a requirement and I did have to build out something, I don't know if I'd be using Canvas at this point because there's still a few things that you really need to work around. Paragraphs works perfectly well. You've always got access to it. You can always do things. You can always customize it. All right. Can Canvas component take at least a get parameter? Well, components, well, that comes down to, are they single directory components or code components? So a single directory component is the twig template, CSS, and what is it? A component.yaml file. And then you have your code components, which are written here, and they're pretty much just JavaScript. So I don't think you would have to do that. You would have to do that get parameter stuff through Twig, but I don't think Twig allows it. At that point, you'll probably have to just create a custom block and then do it through code, do it through PHP. So test component. You can pretty much write JavaScript to create your code components this way. But this isn't the only way. I should stress that this isn't the only way to build out components. This is just one way. Just one way to build out components, because you can use Drupal to use Drupal as a backend. Okay, so as you can see, if you want to display maps in Drupal CMS, you can. You've got a lot of options. So when it comes to managing addresses, just use the address field. Honestly, the address module gives you an address field, and that is the best way of doing it. Okay, just use that. Then to handle your geolocation data, use Geofield. That can store a lat and long. Then to display your Google Maps or any type of mapping that integrates with Geofield, use Geofield Map. And then to convert the address into the longitude and latitude, then look at Geocoder. That kind of ties everything together. Oh yes, that's true. The comment is in a big project translated in languages. I don't think Canvas is multilingual at this point. I don't think it supports languages well. So if you do have a requirement for sorting out for having languages, then I think you have to stick to just standard content types. And that's one of Drupal's big selling points. It's translations and things like that. But I don't think that's supported just yet. I'm sure it's coming. And I do remember somebody asked that in one of my previous live streams. Yeah, it's coming, but I don't think it's there at this point. All right, so that is it. If you want to learn more about Drupal, just head over to webwash.net. I'll be sticking around, don't you worry, answering any questions. And if you have any questions about this or other streams, let me know. And if you want to learn more about Drupal, head over to webwash.net. Anyway, that is it from me. Catch you all next week. All right. Here we go. Cool. Comments. All right. This may be a big ask, but how would you go about grabbing a large list of addresses and showing them on a map? Well, what you could do, all right. Well, you could essentially query. Well, if you put them in, okay. You need to get the large list of addresses into Drupal. And then if you're going to use Search API, you can then index it in the Search API. And you should be able to create a view that queries your search content and then displays it in a map. And then you can use, Geofield Map. There is probably, Search API, Drupal, Geofield. I'm just going to throw that in. But yeah, you do have Search API. Well, let's have a look and see. Is it even supported? Not that much. What about this one? Views? No, that's not even there. The Geofield geolocation. What you could essentially do, yes, is index it with views. No, index it with Search API, then query it with views, and then have it displayed. And then you should be able to use Geofield Google Maps for that. Oh, you have already the business is asking for Canvas. Well, you just the tricky thing is with Canvas is that, yeah, you just need to be aware of its limitations, honestly. Now, coming back to the displaying with maps, honestly, if you have a lot of data and you want to do some type of Ajax stuff and, maybe it's just best to store it in Drupal, but then expose everything as JSON API and then write a simple JavaScript application to kind of just grab it and display it. Sometimes that's probably the quickest and easiest, and then just embed that. Oh yes, hard to know the limitations. Absolutely, until you actually start building it out. Yeah, I know. So yeah, that's the fun part. Right now, I would say if you want to build out, if you want to, use Canvas for building out landing pages that utilize single directory components. Okay. For that stuff, it works well. If you have any requirements such as conditional logic and things like that, that's when things start to get a little tricky because it doesn't support that. I do know a lot of the page builders out there have the ability to conditionally show or hide components based off something. But then you can implement a lot of that logic in the component, because the component can be JavaScript. Well, it does have a JavaScript component. No pun intended. The JavaScript component has a JavaScript component to it. So it's got that. So you can always do it in code. And as I said, you can create code components, which are JavaScript, which is all fully JavaScript, but then understand that a code component won't be shown unless you have JavaScript enabled. That's very important to understand. So you don't want to create your whole site. Imagine that, not knowing that or not testing it out. You create your whole site using code components, and then then Google doesn't index it. I would say Google probably indexes JavaScript these days, but yeah, what are the chances? All right, comment. All right, could you show some examples of good use cases of Canvas for landing pages? Well, look at Drupal CMS. Drupal CMS is a good example. I mean, all of these pages are Canvas pages. These are all built using Canvas. So you've got this stuff right here. So if we go and edit, these are hero billboards. This is a hero billboard component. And then you have these components right here. The thing is though, the quality of your page building experience really comes down to the quality of your components and your theme, because this is all done at the theme layer. So you have to really think about all of your components and what options you want to give them. That's one thing I've kind of struggled with. When it comes to creating your components, it's like, okay, how many drop downs do you want to give them? How many options do you want to give them? How many, fields you want to allow? It all comes down to that. And that's a bit of an art of, do we give them absolutely everything? Do we give them the whole kitchen sink and they can modify absolutely everything? But then you had that problem with paragraphs. I've worked on projects where you had like 3 levels of like paragraphs, and you had drop downs and all sorts of fields on it. And to the point where it's like, you just didn't even know. It's like, what are you actually building? So yeah, I mean, Drupal CMS looks nice, and this Mercury theme looks very, very nice. And yeah, if you want to build a site like this and you have the components ready for you, then yeah, Drupal Canvas is best for that. But then straight away, you might be thinking, okay, if you're going to use, say, MailChimp or what is it, ConvertKit or Kit, whatever it's called, then it's like, okay, how do you then integrate a sign-up form into Drupal Canvas? Okay, well, there's a few options. You can create a code component. That's one way. The other way is to then just create a brand new component. That's another way. Yeah, there's many, many ways of doing it. And I'm in the process now of actually building out a site, which I do want to kind of cover in a future live stream, and then also offer it for downloads that utilizes like Radix theme. Where is it here? Drupal Radix. Because I do like this one. This is actually a component-based theme, and he uses Bootstrap. And I think Bootstrap, even though the Mercury theme is Tailwind, Bootstrap works a bit better in the case of having a CMS, because you can just have all your classes loaded up already. All right, is it possible to get several Canvas templates for a content type? Not at this point, no. Like you can only have one full content view mode. This full content view mode is the one that's used. And so what you could do is you could essentially create a pattern. So let's say, for example, we want to create, let's have a look at these patterns. No, not there. Let's go to a page. Wait, do we have these patterns? Where are they? Yeah, they're there. Oh yeah, here you go. So let's imagine what you could do. We have this whole section, okay? This section has a heading and it's got a map and it's got a text. Let's say we want to utilize this over and over again. What you could do is you can create a pattern and call this locations and then add it to library. Then it's added to your library right here. So then what you can do is you can come along here, create a new page, new about us. And if you come along in here, you can then just easily just grab and drag this pattern across. And then save it. Well, let's ignore that. And then save it. So that's like an easy way of just having some type, but then that's just a pattern of components. But can you actually create a group? Yeah, not sure. Another thing you can do is you can duplicate, which is pretty cool. I do like that. And you can copy and paste. So I do believe if you copy, paste, yes, that is pretty cool. You can copy and paste. Yeah, so patterns is one way of doing it. But you couldn't, there is no way. And yeah, like I know exactly what you mean. There is no way of creating multiple, say, templates for the company content type and then have be able to select it. Now that functionality I could build myself, absolutely. But yeah, at this point, no. Okay. So yeah, there is a lot of things to learn. It would be good if you could essentially create another view mode. Could you? You could create another view mode called full content and then another one called something else. And then, of course, you're going to have to write custom code, but then have a drop down on here called layout, and then you can switch between it. You could do that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you could, you could do that. There's that, but then you have to override. Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how things go. That's all. It's going to be with Canvas. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how things go. Because yeah, I'm pretty keen to have a play with well, I want to do a few more live. Well, what am I doing? Let's have a bit of a play. This is when all the fun happens. All right, so let's do a bit of coding because what I want to do is I want to see a block. So what is a block? Generate. Well, no, I need to generate a module first. I'm going to just quickly create a module. What is it? Custom. Yeah. Whatever. Okay, used for custom code. All right, it's done. Enable custom. Okay. So now come along in here. All right, got my custom module. Now what I want to do is install, want to create a block. What do we want to call it? Canvas build. I'll just call it that. Yeah, whatever. Yep. All right, done and dusted. All right, and we save. Now I'm curious to see what's going to happen if I want to add this into a Canvas page. Very curious. Let's go to here about us. Refresh. And Okay, canvas. Okay, interesting. It's there. All right. Okay, I'll give you that. That's awesome. Now, if I pop this in, is it going to actually work? Huh. Okay, it works. Nice. Okay. That works. That's good. But what I want to do is turn on development. Where is it? Quick debugging. And turn this on. All right, done and dusted. Okay, so that is that. So now if I take a look at the code, where is it? All right, now is there a settings? Okay. Actually, you know what? I can't be bothered typing. Let me just bring this up. I will use good old Claude Code for this. All right, I do need to. Oh, what? Wait a minute. I'm not using Sonnet. Give me Opus. Why is it pushing me to? No, forget that. All right. Oh, this is new. All right, whatever. Okay, let's get in there. Let's do an init. This is a new project, so it's just going to have to do all that stuff. Because what I want to know is how hard would it be to add in a settings? Yeah, to see. Yes, Vibe took over. Yeah, I just can't be bothered. He's like, let me just double check and see. All right, come on, chop chop. Because what I want to do is just add in a basic settings here and see how hard it is to, need PHP Storm for this. Uh, and I need to set it up on this project. Damn you. It's like VS Code is great to a certain point, and it's like, forget it, need PHP Storm. Come on. But PHP Storm is heavy as. I don't like to always set that up. It would be a bit annoying. All right, where is my builds? Builds. CMSs. And let it index. Now it's going to take 20 minutes to index and crash, essentially. Oh, don't die. What? There we go. I can see my CPU's at like 100%. Oh, don't add it. Oh, man. Every single core is getting used. All right, analyze. All right, yeah, there we go. Fine, that's whatever. All right, so it's in there. All right, so if we take a look here, I'm curious. Let's see. Yeah, I need to wait for it to index. Oh, it's still indexing. Whoa, this is really slow. All right, we have to take a bit of time on that. Now, I am curious to see which. So you can't actually show me. All right, look at settings, build config. All right, stuff it. Let's just do it. Can you? Well, let me just do it here. All right. Can you create a settings form, a very basic setting form on, and then I'll do, what is it? Custom. Where is a? There we go. Use context 7 if needed. All right, see what happens. All right, now I'm starting to hear my fans. That's interesting. Don't often hear my fans, but whenever I whenever I open up PHP Storm, that's what happens. All right, here we go. Okay. All right, yeah, whatever. All right, plan this out. Cool. Okay, now what I want to see is actually examples of this. And block settings. Yeah, I am keen. All I want to see is, yes. See, this is a new project. Should just do that dangerously ignore. Because if we can pass in a block settings, then we're good. Why is he still going? What? Oh, now Docker's at 100%. No, 300%. Oh. The irony is, I was building Drupal sites with like 4 gig of RAM. I've got 32 gig of RAM and still not enough. Very annoying. All right, how you going? What's the plan? Yeah, why not? Make sure it works. Yeah, let's see. Let's see if this actually works. Yeah, you can place an admin. All right, cool. All right, it's going to go off and do its thing. Because if it can pass in, because if we can pass in a block, then we're good to go. So where do you define your block interface? Visible and attributes. All right. All right. Is this done? I think it is. All right, come back here. What is it? I always forget the keys. Canvas field block. Okay, there we go. Configuration. All right, is this done? All right, let's see if it's done actually. All right, it says it's done. What I will do, because I do know Canvas kind of, yep, that's the indexing. It's done, finally. Canvas doesn't like it when you make changes to blocks. Okay, so now I've done that. Let's see if this actually works. I want to test it out in a non-Canvas page. Because what happens is Canvas then integrates the block with Canvas itself through its own config file, which can be a bit of a pain sometimes to fix things up. But do we have regions? No, we don't have regions. I'll just chuck it in here. I just want to see if it actually brings up the options. Oh, it does. Nice. Okay. Good job, mate. Look at that. Look at that. Perfect. Okay. That worked. Cool. Now, the moment of truth. Save that. Come into here. Refresh. Oh, it's still available, which is good. Now, one thing to be aware is if your components do not update, you come in here, appearance and components, and you will see all of the available blocks that have been turned into components. And it will tell you when it complains about things. So you will see that block settings must opt into strict validation, and yeah, it kind of tells you when things don't work. So if your components don't appear, first of all, clear your cache, and then come along in here and have a look. Because if we jump over to here, I'll also export the config. So drush, what is it? Drush here. CEX. So if we come here and then go files, now of course this is in here in the files directory. Of course, don't put your config in a files directory. You will see that every single block gets this config, and sometimes it can be a pain to get this config to update if you've made a change. And the components, yeah, the props as well. Another thing I discovered, the props are versioned, but if you make a change to an option and the option is removed, then you can potentially break your components in production if you already have content. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, huge list. All right. So now, old Claudia has done that for us. Now we can come back in here and hopefully I want to see the options. Oh, nice. Look at that. Look at that. Oh, that is cool. Okay. Ha ha ha. That interesting. Huh. I've got so many ideas now. This is it. This is pretty much the ability to just write your custom code. You just do everything through blocks. that is awesome. And it updates. That's even better than I thought. Blocks is the way to go. So the blocks give you, so that is absolute. You can just write and do whatever you want and go in there. Huh. So now if I save this, I want to see what this looks like in the database. What would that be? So that would be, here we go. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Something's failed. No. Is not a supported key. Ah, man. So close, but yet so far. Huh. Maybe there needs to be some extra work. All right. Let's see. Oh, I wonder what that problem is. There's got to be something. Because you can save. Yeah, I don't know. You can save blocks with settings. For example, I can click on this and I can save these options. So that they are getting saved. So if I click on this, so let me grab that ID. So that's what, 2. And then go to the database. Let's look at the DB. Because I do know that it is canvas components. I think that's it. And if we take a look at entity, where entity ID, what is it? Equals 2. Is that it? Okay, cool. Equals 2. And then one of these, which one is it? And then these are the props that are actually stored. Wait, where's the, oh, maybe it doesn't store the blocks here. Main slot. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, here we go. No. Here we go. Here we go. This is the one I want. Okay. So it is, oh God, that's terrible. So it's storing those values, but it doesn't want to store our value. Oh, that's a pain. But if we let's create another block quickly. Where is it? Let's go back here. Let me just create another block. What is it? Generate block. I want to see if it's going to actually store custom another block. Make it configurable. No, we won't. Access callback. And then if we do this, all right, so we've done that. Let's remove that. Let's refresh. Have another block. Perfect. Add that in the footer. It works. Does that work? All right, so that at least saves. And then if we come along in here and refresh, we should see another option here called, here we go, another block, and it's storing that. But it can't handle custom form. So close, but yet so far. Oh, man, it's a pain. Nearly there. Nearly there. If we can just get this to work. Yeah, investigate component trash would be interesting. Yeah. Oh, man, if we just get this to work. Wait, does this save? No, it's just going to whinge about. Yeah, it's just complaining about unsupported key. All right. Let's look. I've created a custom component with, I've created a custom block with a config field, but Canvas is complaining about the following errors. Yeah. Please look at, what is it? Canvas and my custom block, which is, what is it? Where? Come on. The canvas. Yes. Tell me why I get that error. Let's see what happens. It's going to take a while. It's going to be cooking. It's going to be cooking. Anyway, we'll let that be. And so that is, but then, okay, let's go now and go drush export. And then you'll see that, yes. See, this is the thing. As soon as Canvas detects a new block, it's going to go ahead and create this config. And so, wait, where was I? Yep. All right, so we've got this. We've got that one. And where's the... Ah, I see. It places... So we need to somehow... I wouldn't be surprised if you needed to find some type of something. The greatest words ever from me. Yeah, to find something. Of course you needed to find something. No, there's some type of library or some type of plugin you need to define because all of the views blocks have the same settings. I think that's it. I think that's it. So, oh my God. Always. Oh, here we go. Explore canvas block validation. Yeah, go for it. Use up the tokens, right? Because I have a feeling that, well, I've got this also Juno as well, but I've never used it before. It's actually not that, well, it's interesting, that one. Anyway. So go to contrib canvas, source. Oh, here we go. Entity plugins, field blocks, adapters, data types, derive, something, deriver, entity version deriver, no. Blocks. What if I just type in like views block? Okay. Oh, no, no, no. What I want to do is search just for PHP. Yeah, abort. And what am I doing? I'll just let this kind of sort itself out. Wait, no, 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 no. Tell me what the problem is. Already has. Huh. So then pays supporter should go away. All right, it's okay. Well, let's see. Interesting. Okay. So constraints fully validate. All right, the block already has. However, Canvas validates block settings against Drupal's typed schema without a schema file. Blah 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 blah. Rejects title as it's not supported. Also requires blocks to use fully enforced in. See, this is where I'm both fearful and amazed by AI because it's like that saved me so many hours. Anyway, all right, let's test this out. So what we need to do is fully uninstall everything. Okay, so go. Off you go. Let's save that. Oh, what's happened here now? Can you save? All right. But I have a feeling that this needs to be, does this need to be reinstalled? Wait. Wait, do I need to reinstall the module? No. Huh. All right, well, let's see. Let's see, let's see, let's see. All right, no errors so far. I'll come along in here. I can see my canvas block, which is great. I'll chuck that in there. Hello world. Hello title. Does it automatically update? Yes, it does. Moment of truth. Oh, okay. All right, that worked. So now, where's my database? Where's my database? Oof. Screen's too small. Screen's too small. So now if I refresh, so where is the canvas component? And it's got it here and it's saved it in there. All right. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So you can, okay, there you go. I've learned something new today. Huh. This opens up a lot. This opens up a lot. If in doubt, because the thing is though, with single directory components, they don't have pre-processors. So if you want to write custom code for that, it doesn't quite work. So essentially you can write a custom block, but you just need to make sure you define your schema and you use the fully validatable. Is that even a word, validatable? Anyway, fully validatable construct, because then that that kind of makes sense. There you go. Look at that. That's awesome. Thank you, Claude, for that. That is awesome. That worked. That fully worked. And it's like a proper preview. Like the previewing worked and everything. All right, let me do one more thing. I'm keen. Can you make it? All right. All right, no. Yeah, exactly. No more hooks. All right. What is it? What is it? Another. Hmm. Wait, actually now, before I move that, I want to see how hard it would it be to actually make the field, um, actually, I'm going to ask Claude to do a few things. I want to see how much, because I've got this idea. All right, in the, okay. Within the configuration form, can you make one of the fields required? And can you also give me an example of conditional logic using the field state API? Just search context 7 for details about that. All right, where is it? Field state. Let me just Drupal field. What's it? No, form state. Oh crap, is it form state? Form state API? Oh no, what is it? Is it state? Is it form API states? That's what I want. I want this. Yes. Form API states. No, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Form. Using form API states. Uh-huh. Yeah. Please go ahead and plan it out for me first and give me and show me the example code that you're going to use. Very important. Because I know Drupal code, most of it, I can kind of see exactly what it's doing. All right, because I'm keen. Because one thing I want to know is, can we add conditional logic? Can we add conditional logic in that form? Because that's one thing I've kind of been struggling with. So yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Oh, yep. Here's the example. Hopefully they'll pick it up. Let's see how it goes. Oh, maybe I should have one of my live streams just be this. It's just, uh, because there are a few things. Yeah. Well, no, this is kind of a way to see. I feel like I feel like there's two people. There's two sorts of developers. With me, using AI, first of all, the internet's just too much for me these days. It's just too much stuff happening. Just, with like the AI stuff coming out and, and I see developers, especially in the Drupal community, some of them are loving the AI and others are, saying that they don't feel like they're learning anything or like even I don't think this was even Drupal developers, but just other developers have said, that you don't really learn anything if you use AI, but I'm kind of the opposite where I use it to learn so much. Because I literally ask it questions. Like I was doing, well, a couple months ago, I was stumped on some CSS thing. And I asked it, can you explain this? Oh, it was like just scoping of variables in CSS. And I asked it, I go, can you explain this to me? And it explained it to me. And I don't like when they talk about, there were studies how developers don't retain a lot of information when they use AI. But the thing is, though, I learned PHP by looking at code. And what's the difference between me looking at code that was written by a human or written by an AI? I'm still looking at it, I'm still understanding it. I would never just deploy a whole site and be done with it. Over like last week, I built pretty much 3 Laravel prototypes sites. And no, use AI because you are lazy to learn. Yeah, but the thing is though, I feel like I've learned something about the block system and canvas. Now, for me to learn, to spend the time to go down the rabbit hole of figuring out where and why that we need to use a fully validatable thing, I would have spent probably an hour or two to learn that. But now I know exactly how to integrate blocks with canvas. That's the same, like, I feel like I've kind of learned something. So yeah, I've got no problems using AI as long as you're checking the code. That's the most important thing. But then some people don't even do that. That's when it starts getting tricky. But then you just ask it to tell you what's this bit of code? How does it work? Why should I use it? But which part of no you don't know? But the difference is, of course, when you try something new for the first time, you don't know what you don't know. So you could kind of say the same of using drush generate. Should you use drush generate? Should you use the drush generate command to generate a block because it's going to generate the code for you? That's the way I see it. AI is just, as long as you're not letting it build out full websites for you, but it's just a code generator. It's just another abstraction layer. All right, let's take a look at this. All right, yep. It's doing that. No, don't do that. Another canvas block. Where's it adding it to? Oh yeah, why not go for it? Let's blow things up. Let's figure this out. Well, superficial, AI only gave you superficial things. Yes, but it saved me, but not really. It pretty much told me exactly how to fix up this problem. It literally fixed this bug for me. Now I know that I can use. But then you could say the lack of documentation in Drupal is also superficial. Where do you? I saved myself probably an hour or two debugging this exact thing. And now I kind of know. So for me, that's kind of learning. That's pretty much the same as me jumping into Slack and asking the same question and somebody being, oh no, you have to use fully validatable. I think it's, for some reason, people are like, oh no, it's AI, but it's just, for me, I use it as like another coworker. It's like, can you kind of tell me? That is true, but what is the right way? Is the right way, like when you go on Drupal.org and read old documentation, it's not the right way. When you Google something and when you Google something, but that's your job as a developer to then figure it out. Like if I search for Drupal API, like Drupal form API, okay? I click on here. Let's have a look and see what documentation comes. Okay, well now Drupal 11's coming up. Back in the day, Drupal 10, Drupal 8, or Drupal 9 versions would come up. And that's my job as a developer to be like, okay, I use this as a point of reference. It's not going to be perfect, but that's just my job to now figure it out. But the right way is so subjective. Like, what is the right way of doing something? You're gonna figure it out. They're either, okay, when you say the right way, yes. If something blatantly fails, if you get a fatal error, well, that's the wrong way. You can easily figure out the right way. With defining form API stuff, yes, there's probably a right way or the wrong way. And the wrong way means your site just doesn't work, but then you just fix it up and that's it. All right, see if this works. But I'll tell you right now, it's like, well, you can do that. Read and learn. Absolutely. Nothing's stopping you from reading and learning. But but AI shouldn't be like, it shouldn't be all or nothing. You can use AI. There's nothing wrong with using AI to ask it questions. Like, ask it questions, ask it why it's doing these things. I'll tell you right now, like when I have to play around with modules for this live stream, I often start off by asking AI to do a full deep dive into the module, tell me all about it, tell me all the forms, tell me all the routes, and then I use that as a data point to then be like, okay, now I can see, okay, this module has a field type. Okay, then I can integrate it with views. I can integrate it as a custom field, and then I can move on. Oh, the settings page is at this route, config / such and such, because very rarely is there decent documentation for contrib modules because developers don't want to write documentation. So I'm not going to not use AI for that when it just saves me probably an hour to prepare for the live stream. I use AI, figure it out. Yep, get a nice little markdown file, and I can see that there's a certain route here. Oh, it's defining a custom block. Straight away, then I know, okay, it's defining a custom block. You can do this, and this. Yeah, I don't think you're exactly, but that's your job to figure it out. Just like the answers in an old Stack Overflow can't be taken for truth. You can kind of replace and say, well, Google answers can't be taken for truth. Yes, absolutely. As truth. It's just one extra data point, and it also fixes things for you as well. All right, let's take a look at this. Is this actually working? And yes, it is. Oh, nice. Let's take a look. All right, let's close all these. And now let's go into here. About us. That's done. Clear. And that's there. Go into there. And now what I want to do is just double check and make sure that this stuff is working. Where is it? Another, what do I call it? Canvas block. So did that actually work? Description. Show. Oh wait, no, that's the other block. I didn't update that one. He updated this one. All right, let's have a look. This other block. Okay. All right, so that works. Nice. So now, let me just make sure that is truth. All right, cool. Okay. Come along in here. Now, if we go to Canvas and go to About Us, another block. Let me chuck that in there. All right. Test. Okay. So it's showing it there, but it's not showing the logic here. Oh, that's a shame. That's all right. Need to figure out if we can conditionally show or hide these things. Anyway, that's for another night. Because then you can... Wait, let me see if I can actually save this. Can I save this? Yes, I can. All right, cool. Because if I can easily load up a bit of JavaScript, manipulate the DOM, then you do everything through code. Anyway. All right, it's for another time. But yeah, I mean, this is actually getting This is getting pretty interesting. So we can fully control this through Canvas. Huh. Okay. All right. Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, this stuff wouldn't work because this is all Form API. And this stuff is all pretty much React stuff. So where is this? Settings. Right-hand trigger. Where is that? That's all up the top here. UI. Was it in here? No, it's not. It is in UI. Setting. Oh, what is it? No, not that one. Tab. No, that's not going to work. Yeah. Need to spend more time on this stuff. All right. Settings. Let's take a look at this. So layout. No, not the code editor. I want to see. Ah, that's what I want. Panel. Cool. That's exactly what I want. So in here, oof, need to fix this up in PHP Storm. Why can't I probably can't show it, but it's somewhere loading up in here. Yeah. So this should make a request. Oh no, that's autosave. That's not it. And then components. What's it complaining about? Oh, one of my extensions. Oh, whatever. No, it's not working. All right. I'll leave that for another day. But yeah, I mean, this is a full React application, I think. So this is all fully React. So I need to kind of get my head around that. Page data. Oh, here we go. Bit of TypeScript. Page data, but settings. I want to see settings, settings. ID, entity, page, tab content. What are they? Oh, these just React. Okay, that's fine. I'll leave that for now. Can't be stuff looking at it now. Okay, well, let me finish up. It's been a great night. Thank you for the great conversations there on YouTube. Uh, yeah, this is interesting. Pretty much Drupal's brand new UI is a JavaScript application. Yeah, which is cool. It's the modern times, that's for sure. It's modern. A lot of hooks here. A lot of hooks. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining. And I will finish up for now. Need to go stretch my legs. I know my back's going to be sore. I've been sitting down for 2 hours and 2 hours and 15 minutes. Yeah, it's going to be. Uh, So Drupal canvas. Should you use it or shouldn't you use it? No, I'd say, well, at this point it depends. The good old things. Like, should I use like, I got, what is it? I did get a comment on one of the Drupal canvas videos. It's like, should I use Drupal canvas in production? It's like, well, and this was like when it was a month after, a month it was released, and it's like, yeah, you could. There's a lot of tests here. A lot of tests. Cool. All right. Well, take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. It's February now, already 1 month down, 11 more to go, which is cool. So good old Feb. Anyway, take care and have fun. Well, thank you all for joining. See you later.